Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Security Disciple podcast, brought to you by WareGeeks Solutions. I'm your host, Seth Melendez. Due to my mistake, I did not record the first 5 minutes of the podcast. Our guest is Thelusma-Chase, Director of Boxwood Learning Center. She and her staff of volunteers help educate at-risk teens called champions in basic reading, writing, and mathematics. They also have programs for high school diploma preparation, career exploration, youth employment, and a computer repair and support training, which I volunteer and train the class.
Office, one of them, I'm going to call him Jerry. When I met Jerry, he already ran away at 16, ran away from rehab. By 16, he tried to commit suicide. By 16, he already had like a major charge, a robbery charge. So when Jerry got kicked out of 2 schools. So at 17, he walks into my office. The young man was just dead inside. So but to me, he's a champion. Today, Jerry is a high school graduate because we do test prep for the champions. He's helping other kids who want to commit suicide because we spend a lot of time mentoring Jerry and pouring into him so that he's able to pour into other young men who are hopeless. So that is our purpose, is to support champions like Jerry on their pathway to success. Jerry already released an album. He's working on a book that will hopefully help young people from overdosing.
And so the others, how long you've been doing this again?
When I completely surrendered, which was last year, so we're in our second year doing it. I'm in my second year doing it full time, but I've been working with Boxwood, whatever, as a fundraiser, whatever I had in profit, I would invest it into youth. So that's going back 20 years.
Okay.
But the nonprofit has actually just been really like 2 years in the making.
Right. And what is it that you want to happen going forward? What is like the dream scenario?
Oh, wow. It's still evolving. I think even the pathway to success, that's something those are declarations from the young men. When they tell me about being wrongly arrested, when they tell me about when they were part of a gang. And so when they're in this, Boxwood allows young men and women to be at a crossroad. And in that crossroad, they decide that they want to choose a pathway to success. So they kept coming back to me like, I'm on the pathway to success. And I'm like, well, I think that's our brand. So in the long run, I really think that Boxwood, it's really a ministry, an urban ministry. So I'm hoping that we can be an outreach to areas across the world where there's hopelessness. Right now, you have a lot of young people who are struggling with suicide and hopelessness, and it's real. And I really feel that the only answer to that is Jesus. We talk about the gospel, but this is gospel in full effect. It's really using, being the hands and feet of Jesus.
Right.
So and wherever he leads me, that's where we'll go. Sorry?
It's saying you're applying it in a different way than most people would do it.
Yeah, because you're literally the hands and feet. I mean, I get text messages, I'm hungry. I get text message, I want to kill myself. I get text message. I also get text messages like, thank you, Miss Marie, for being there for me. I get message, oh, I just got a raise, but it's really ministering to the heart of young people. We just started a prison ministry where we do have young people who are facing time. So last week we sent this young man like 5 letters. I have my friends writing. Because when they're in prison, I find that they're waiting for a letter. It's just
right.
There's someone to write to me. And if they don't have anyone to go see them, we're like, okay, we're going to be a family, so it's really where the Lord leads us.
Right. And so what are some of the programs you're doing now?
The programs that we're doing now in supporting champions, we do it by way of tutoring, test prep. I would say with the tutoring, 90% of the youth are court involved and dropped out of school and probably reading on a second grade level, fourth grade level. So our goal is to help them to get their diploma and be an alternative education environment for them. And we also started our mentoring piece where I think 2 years ago, one of our mentors adopted the siblings of five of his mentee. So let's say, Seth, you were the mentor, and the young man that you're mentoring, the mom abandons her for 5 children from age 2 to 14. You're touched by that. So you take custody of his 5 brothers.
Wow. That
And
takes a lot of heart.
that takes a lot of heart. And then the mother died this year, and they did you and your wife did the funeral and officially adopted the 5 brothers.
Wow.
So we think that the mentoring is really the feet and heart of the Lord. And the person doesn't have to be a believer. I have a friend who's an atheist and is mentoring. I think as long as you are a human being, your heart beats, God is going to use you. So that's the mentoring piece. The other piece is career exploration. In Elizabeth, New Jersey, I find there's an underground artist community, young men who are rappers. So all these young men have a record before they're 18 years old. They've been kicked out of school before they're 18 years old. But when I take them to the studio, they're like, oh, yes, I want to do, they're rapping, they're free. They get to express the hurt and the pain.
Right.
So we try to find out what the young people are interested in and try to help them to explore careers. So I want them, so right now we're helping them with you through the computer repair. We're doing carpentry. We have a young lady who's going to work with a cosmetologist on Monday. So we do assessment to find out what career fits their interest. And then we pay for the young person to intern with the business or with the business owner. So those are the 3 main areas. It's the tutoring, the mentoring, and the career exploration. And then believe it or not, Seth, in August, DIFAS reached out to us to do in-home tutoring.
Right.
So the in-home tutoring is going to be expanded where it's not just high school dropout or children in need. It also would include in-home for DIFAS, for foster care involved children. Okay.
And it's funny how I was able to get involved in this situation because one of your students reached out. He did cold calls. And
yeah, he did cold calls. Yeah.
He cold called me. And he was saying, well, how much do you charge to come in to teach us this stuff? And I'm like, what's, and after a couple of minutes, it was like, it's funny because not too long before that, I kept having things in my mind of doing something similar to this. And out of nowhere, this kid comes. So I don't believe in accidents. I don't believe in coincidence. And he called me out of the blue. We talked, and then obviously you reached out to me, and we started doing that.
And that young man, remember I told you the 5 brothers?
Mm-hmm.
His name is Jesus. Jesus' brothers were the one that were adopted this year.
Right.
So it's just, had we not stepped in the lives of Jesus, he would have never, he did a total complete turnaround. He was an addict when I met him. He dropped out of school. He had charges. He was homeless.
He was so
sorry?
He was on a path to a jail cell.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Number.
It was, and he was kept getting jumped because he wasn't like a popular youth. So he kept getting jumped by local gang members. So he would walk in with like just physical injuries. So today he has his own apartment. He's a high school graduate. He's working full time, and he's in the process of going to school.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's just funny how just a little bit of a push diverts their whole path.
Pardon?
I said, funny how a little bit of a push diverts their path. And it's just one
Right.
small thing can really divert downrange where they hit. You know, a friend of mine in the military talks
Absolutely.
about that. One small degree changes where you hit downrange.
Right, and then his brothers, his younger brother is a senior, so he's been with this family since he was 14. He's now a senior in high school and going and filling out college application. I
Wow.
spoke to his mom. He's like, "Oh yeah, he's going to college next year." And I'm like, "Wow, look at this child who was raising his 4 siblings. Mom was an addict, and so he had to step in, and it's just that little shift of love. You
Right.
need to, love his action and to decide, like, no matter what Jesus does, if he's late, if he lies, if he steals, I'm going to choose to love him.
Right. That's good. The kid, I remember talking to him a few times early on, and he always amazed me with just that ability or that lack of fear, because he never even thought about, well, I just picked up the phone and just started calling. People go to classes and pay a lot of money to do that, to do coaching.
Yeah.
And he just did it naturally. So I always thought that was great about him. And being part of this program, I enjoy it. I know you guys always thank me, and I'm always thanking you. It allows me to do, something I always wanted to do for a while, which is, tutor somebody. I've always been blessed with people that gave me their time and their,
Oh, wow.
I had a father who was there physically, but not present.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I was always looking for that. So I always had people that
Mm.
stepped in at the right time and kept diverting me away from problems. And
Oh, that
so
is awesome.
one of the people who befriended me as a kid always used to say, pass it along.
Mm.
You want to thank me? Help somebody else.
Wow.
So it's one of those things that I always wanted to do and help people with that. So by helping these kids, I feel like I'm giving back and honoring those people that gave me their time.
Yes, it's honoring those people and allowing the Lord to use you.
Right. Definitely.
Because I know so many youth that I work with. The other day, one of them came to our Thanksgiving brunch, and it's the kid who was not working full time. I'm like, you sure you're working full time for Amazon? He's like, Miss Mary, I have fixed hours. I'm a full time. I'm like, you sure? I never met a full time worker. But this is a young man who, 2 years ago, his father died. He had an assault charge, and he dropped out of school. And I asked him, like, how are you going to get to Thanksgiving dinner? He's like, oh, I'm driving. Can I bring my girlfriend? I'm like, wait a minute. You have a car? You drive. You have a full-time job? Like, wow, this is not the destiny that he was on his way to. And like you said, we have to be able to step in and encourage and love these children. Like this young man, when he took his test prep, he fell asleep. The test I called was like, the dude is sleeping. Oh, but yeah, it's an amazing work.
I was, like I said, along my path, I've always had somebody step in. And in high school, I was part of this program in Curtis High School in Staten Island, a SAW program. It
Nice.
stopped kids from filtering into special ed or, leaving out of school. It kind of try to keep those at-risk kids in.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of kept me from leaving early. But
oh, you were part of that program.
I was part of that program.
Okay.
But you weren't outside of mainstream, but you weren't fully integrated in. So,
okay.
So they had a lot of classes and different programs to try to get you back into mainstream and catch up on your credits and stuff like that. That program ended years ago. Now they're sink or swim. They don't really care anymore. And I left there and went to an at-risk high school, Concord, which on Staten Island is, most people think it's for kids who have problems like fighting and stuff like that. My problem is I never showed up. I was bored. And yes, there was fighting in there too. There was a little fighting, but most of it was I was bored. I'd go to, if I didn't show up for class for 3 weeks, I'd take a test, cold, pass the test, and didn't even show up for 3
Oh,
weeks.
wow.
And a lot of times I could sit there and pass all those tests, but they'd score me absent, so I'd get like a 60.
Oh, wow.
So I would never, pass some of these classes because I never show up. I was bored. And
My parents put the fear of them and me. That's a perfect attendance. And the other piece is I'm from Haiti. So my parents had to leave school because of poverty. My dad would say, he was too hungry at school, so he couldn't go. So I felt like, it was a privilege to have an American education.
Right.
And I was not going to waste it. What saved me was the church, because I got left back. I was in special ed. I was arrested when I was 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I was just really lost. And I feel like the being part of the youth group. And I don't know what happened to a lot of these youth groups that cater to teenagers, but I was part of the youth group. That really helped me to reintroduce me to Christ, reintroduce me to my God purpose, and that's what saved me.
Well, along the line, the similar thing. Once I went to Concord, there was a teacher there. She was the best and the worst you ever wanted to meet. She was the best because she won't let you fail, and she beats you up if you fail.
Like physically?
Yeah, she may. She was one of those teachers that did not accept disrespect, but she gave you every love and bit that she had. And in that classroom, we were able to flourish. I read a lot. I was writing, and she encouraged my writing. In that same class was another gentleman who was into poetry, and she let him read, his poetry in class when whatever sessions he did. Just do the lesson, I'll let you read. and she would allow him, and he would say, one day when I'm rich and famous, I'm going to bring you on stage, or I'm going to point you out. And the funny thing is, he did do that. He wrote it in his album, and that guy was Method Man.
Oh my gosh, seriously?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
There's actually pictures of me and him in class.
Wow.
So she encouraged everyone in that class and diverted us from where we might have been, because she gave us the ability to flourish in some ways. My writing became a crux for other reasons and other directions, and ultimately led me to IT.
Nice. That is encouraging.
So the funny thing is, she still, after all, whatever you want to say, success, she harps on me not having a college degree.
Oh, wow.
She's
definitely a traditional teacher.
That was that degree. But she does enjoy the fact that I'm tutoring now, because she kept saying I was going to teach.
Oh, wow. That is so cool.
Yes. So, I know she's happy that I'm teaching, and she actually gave me pointers when I told her I was going to start with you guys.
I'm sorry, just a moment.
Sure.
Just a moment. My alarm just went off. Hold on.
Yeah, sure. There you go. So that was she allowed us to flourish and grow, and allowed us to years later to do what we wanted. And a lot of us became successful in the area. Some of us in the class became chefs.
Nice.
There's a lot of guys in that class that have become more successful than they would have been without her.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So,
because I think study shows that in order to win a young person, they just need to be in the company of a caring adult. It doesn't have to be a fancy school. It doesn't have to be money I used to run a program in Elizabeth, And every Saturday I would I would bake for the youth. And they were all like, they had ankle bracelets. They had all types of charges. But, you know, they would call me at 7 in the morning, like, Miss Marie, are you going to be there today? I only come for the food. But yeah, right. I don't think I'm that well of a cook to be coming at like 9 in the morning on a Saturday. But but I just think like what the teacher have, it's like, you know, when you see my youth, you'll never think that they have a background or they're in the second grade, because they sit there, they're learning, they're engaged, because, you know, we care, like all of us.
Yeah. There's actually a story I heard from an officer, and he didn't realize that I went to class with her. I was in her class at the time. So we heard the story from the other side, from the guy. She used to go knock on your door when you missed school, or go, and you had to have an excuse. And then she knew where you hung out at. She'd show up there. And this particular officer was sharing this incident of a car stopping in the middle of the street, and this fat white lady jumps out and chases after one of the guys that are in a crowd, and the whole group scatters. And she's after the guy, and he's running away, and the cops are laughing because they've tried to move that group for hours and they wouldn't leave. Got to rescue. Nobody would. But the minute they saw her, everybody took off.
Yes.
Is probably half the group was in her class. And she would have grabbed one of them. Any one of them. And
oh my gosh.
He would snatch you up and throw you in the car. So it was funny when she could do those things, but she cared, and they always knew she cared.
Yeah.
So the cops said from now on, if they want to move the crowd, they're just going to go find her.
Yeah, that's funny, because even with my youth, I work with their officers. If the officer is looking for them, they call me.
Right.
You know, if something needs to happen, they call me. It's just that trust. You know,
right.
They trust that, you know, and they'll respect you because of that trust.
Yeah. And I got ratted out a lot because when she knocked on my door, my sisters would open the door. My mother would be at work at the time she would show up. So my sisters would be like, oh, he's sleeping. Go wake him up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I should do that. I used to do that years ago. I should start doing that again.
So she would catch you. If you didn't show up on Friday, she'd come Saturday morning.
Oh my God, I love her. I'm gonna start doing that, because if you don't come,
she was funny.
If you don't come, I call your guardian or your officer, or I'll text you. I'll have a friend Facebook you, Instagram you, like, Miss Marie looking for you.
This is back in the 80s. She didn't have no Facebook. She still found them all.
Oh wow.
Because half the people in the class had brothers or sisters that were in the class previous, or in another class with another teacher in the school. So she knew how to find you because she grabbed one of them.
Oh, I love it.
Your mother, she knew who your father was. She may know your cousins, you know, so she knew how to get you. So that was the thing with her. But one of the biggest things is she would pick a bunch of us up in her little car.
Oh wow!
Morning, when she would find us, pick us up in the morning, and give us coffee and egg sandwiches.
Oh wow!
And you couldn't get an egg sandwich if you came in late.
Oh wow!
So that's what she used to do to us. She would make like 20, 30 of these sandwiches every morning. She would make.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Oh, she was an angel. She was an angel.
And so, but yeah, so I still talk to her. I'm still in touch with her. She's in Florida, retired.
Oh, wow.
But she's one of those teachers that are rare, and they don't even respect her in a lot of ways in that world, because she's so out there and she gives a damn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, but people like her, I think. And so, out of respect, when she tells me, this is the direction you should do, or this is something she gives advice, you weigh it a lot more than anyone else.
Because of the trust,
Right.
too.
The trust.
Mhm.
It's up there with somebody like my mother, where it's like she gives me advice, I trust it. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah. So I'll share the picture with you with me and Method Man.
Oh, wow. I respect him as an artist. He's
Yeah.
positive.
But it was funny because we used to pick him up in the morning. I would have to go knock on his
Oh, my gosh.
come on, man. And he's either sleeping, and I have to wake him up or just knock on the door, and then he'd come out, and we jump in the car and go to school.
Oh, my gosh. There should be a movie about this.
They don't talk about it. In all the movies that they had, they never mentioned any of that. They never.
Oh, they had on Method Man?
Yeah.
Or other people?
That
Oh,
was
no.
the whole Wu-Tang thing. They've never mentioned.
They,
We had two of the guys in that school from
from the
Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang? Really?
Yeah.
No, I think that class needs a movie on its own.
Well,
On the
tried
teacher.
to do it in other movies. It's similar, but they really can't make a movie on this teacher because a lot of what she did was technically illegal. The stuff that she would do.
She's retired. What are you going to do? Arrest her?
True. But, because she would actually take kids into her house when they were in dangerous situations. Right now, a teacher does that, they throw them into jail.
Right. But that's what I think it would be a good movie, on her life. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Funny woman, and she cursed like a sailor. That's one of the things. She did not. There was no hesitation when it came to her cursing.
I'm the opposite. When they curse, I have them do push-ups. And if it's a female, they squat.
She cursed a lot. But like I said, she was one of us, just an adult version of it. They nicknamed us Sweat Hogs. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember Welcome Back, Carter. I don't know if you went that far back in TV in the United States. There's a show called Welcome Back, Carter.
Yeah, I remember that.
Vinnie Barbarino. I can't even think of his name, the actor, but he was Vinnie Barbarino, and this goes way back to the start of his career, where they kept you in one class for part of the day to reintroduce you back into mainstream. And we were in this class with her all day, and so they nicknamed us the Sweat Hogs.
Oh wow! Was it special ed?
No, it wasn't. We're not special ed. The School of Concord was an alternative school. So people who had fighting problems, drug problems, absentee problems like me, a little bit of fighting. There was a few other people that were there. So you were out of regular school. The whole thing was you were going to try to graduate through mainstream or through get your GED.
Okay.
So they create the program, the new op program, to try to get you back into mainstream. But the reality, the program was to just get you your GED. They realized that most of these kids were already 19 and they weren't going to spend another 2 years in high school.
Yeah, and I'm finding that I have youth who are at 19 and 17 in the 9th grade. And when the guidance counselor tells me like, oh, he'll be done in like 2021 or 2023, I'm like,
no, he's not going to stay.
Right, because in my program, I've had a youth who got kicked out of 2 schools. One was a state school, and he finished in 2 months with us. So, a young person may take between 2 months to 18 months to get their high school diploma. We're not a GED program. The test prep that we do gets them a diploma, and we do a little graduation, cap and gown, senior trip, senior photos. Oh yeah, you went to the one. It was only 4 young men, but those 4 young men, like one of them had sickle cell. So at 18, he only finished the 9th grade. He had to, he kept missing school. He had to do makeup work to get to the 10th grade. And by that time, he got so sick, he gave up.
Right.
So in 3 months of tutoring and really expressing to him what the boundaries are, do not mess with Miss Marie. You know, have him sign an agreement. He finished in 3 months.
That's great.
You know, in 3 months, he got his diploma and got a resolution from the state assembly, the New Jersey State Assembly. And so it's not difficult to, prepare a young person to take the new high school proficiency test. It's called Test Assessing Secondary Completion, TASC,
Right.
for short. So I don't know why, at 18, they don't have an alternative for a senior who does not have enough, or a junior who don't have enough credit,
Right.
and have them like stay. I have one young man, I played good cop and bad cop with his officer on Wednesday because he has a new charge. And, I can't really blame him. He had, you know how back in the day in the 80s, we had those rings, not rings, but it fit your 4 fingers. What do you call those?
So name rings?
Not the name rings, but now they use it to protect themselves.
Oh, you're talking about the brass knuckles.
He had brass knuckles, so he's charged with that. And I was with him. Let's call him Timothy. So I'm in Timothy's. I'm with Timothy in his officer's office. So it's the 3 of us. And the officer says, I'm going to violate you because you got new charge. So I'm like, Timothy, what's the charge? Oh, Miss Marie, I had brass knuckles because last time I walked from one town to another, I got jumped. So I got the brass knuckles to protect myself. And Timothy, I spoke to Timothy's guidance counselor. She said he would graduate in 3 years. Timothy is 17 years old.
Yeah, he's not going to stay around to 20.
So me and the police officer, we put together a contract for Timothy. He can't miss any of his tutoring sessions. He has to come. The tutor is only 3 hours for 3 days, 3 hours a day for 3 days. So we have a contract with him. And we're like, Timothy, if you mess up any of these, you're getting violated and you're going to the judge. So we put the fear in him. We put the fear in him. And because Timothy is really bright. I really believe he can finish in 2020. But I think schools really, as we see a wave, I have a waiting list for my program of kids who are on probation and not in school. But I think schools have enough resources to create an alternative and not let it be something that's 3 years down the line or 2 years down the line.
And I give kudos to the officer who's willing to do this, because a lot of them, just lock them up. I don't care.
Right. I respect him because, I respect him.
Because a lot of times they just write it off. Next one, next problem.
Yeah, I actually had a case with a graduate, because another thing we do with our champions, we follow them through age 25. And one of my most amazing champions, the one who got his diploma in 2 months, got arrested. So he wasn't at graduation because he was locked up. So I worked with the mom to get her a lawyer because no one would touch the case. It was a gun charge. And it happened in Irvington. Like, you can go to, Mexico and get a gun charge. Don't go to Irvington. So he had a gun charge. He was looking at 5 years, defaced gun. So it's a federal offense now. And he's sitting in a jail cell in Essex County. So the lawyer, I was tired of the mom telling me that no lawyer would take it. They were charging her $10,000. So I did my little research and came across a lawyer who's actually a law professor as well. And he took the case. And the kid was out a week later. You know why he was out a week later?
Why?
When I called the lawyer, I'm like, okay, what happened? The gun was like a fake gun. The barrel didn't work. You couldn't load the gun. You couldn't shoot nobody with the gun. And I'm like, how did you find out, Mr. Lawyer? He's like, forensic report. I was like, then why were they trying to hit him with 5 years? I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. Got to make the quota, I guess.
Make sure.
But
Just think about it, yeah.
That's the other thing that we do is try to support the families, encourage them as much as we can. but to make sure that we show up in the courtroom. A lot of the courts know me, judges know me by name, to try to advocate or to make sure that the youth have fair, now it's fair representation, but also like that the charge is fair and try to write letters of support to try to reduce the charge.
And so, what other programs are you in the works with, or you would like? I know we have a couple of kids that are good in art, social media stuff and graphics, and I know you had one of the kids who did the fashion stuff.
Right, he's
things on the work.
we had
more.
Actually, that young man, he's working full time. Guess what industry he's working in?
Where?
Construction.
Oh, wow.
He actually, before he got, if you go to my office, the reason why the floor is half carpet, half, what do you call it, planks, is because he was in the middle of fixing my office when he got the offer. But we offer carpentry, and we partner with a company, the name escaped me, that comes in Boxwood and does the OSHA training so that they can understand construction safety. If they want to go to electric or plumbing, they understand the general safety around those trades.
Okay, that's good. I like that. So, is there? I know we had talked about there's a need for not just donations and things like that, but the equipment, different equipment that people get rid of, people junk, things like that would work with you guys. I know that's one of your needs. Is there other needs?
Oh gosh, I think the number one need right now is we're providing a free tutoring to a teen who recently had a baby, and she just felt like school was too much, so she stopped going. So we decided, like, okay, you have to go to school. We got her a mentor. I personally tutor her, and she's taking her first exam next week. So I'm looking for someone to help pay or sponsor her tutoring, because she brings the baby to tutoring, which is fine because it's one-on-one. The young man that I mentioned before who had a chronic illness, sickle cell, I had a friend who paid for his tutoring, and that person made it possible. So we definitely need scholarship or sponsorship for teens who dropped out for a myriad of reasons, whether it's sickness, they have a child, or they're at a low competency. We want to be able to provide the opportunity. The other thing that we're doing is once a year we have an annual holiday party where an adult would sponsor a youth. It could be a teen parent, it could be a youth with myriad of issues or challenges, and that person would get a gift card, and then we have like a holiday get together, and it would be an entire program where we make sure about 20 teenagers get a gift for the holidays.
Okay, good.
So we do that.
And I know they're working with Daquan. That kid impresses me.
Really? In what way?
Well, he's real quiet, but he retains a lot, and I think he's surprising himself lately more than anything.
Oh wow!
I think he's starting to realize that he can do this work that I'm showing him, because I'm not just showing him computer repair. Remember, I'm actually showing him how to be a technician, to be walking in the door. So he's starting to realize that he can do it. And I think it's starting to give him a little confidence, and that he impresses me with that. Because
I noticed that.
It's hard to read him sometimes.
Yeah, but I noticed the maturity.
Right.
In him. Do you know he's a rapper?
Yeah, we've talked about it.
So lately, that's another need. Like We have youth who we like to give them studio time with a local studio. So that's an incentive that we provide. So we're looking for sponsors for that. Because he texted me like 2 weeks ago. He's like, I want studio time. I'm like, okay, studio time money. Where is it? So I know I got him. I got him for December. He's a confident rapper. So he's definitely. I really see you as a mentor in Daquan's life. He's a special young man, and like you said, I don't think a lot has been spoken onto him, like positive. He does have a loving mom, but you know, he has not made a lot of right decisions. So I think with you in his life, I really feel like, you know, you're like your teacher to Daquan, you know. So I thank you for that. Like I always feel like it's God sent and a blessing. Every time you walk through that door, I'm like, yes, here. Yes, you know, and just the gift that you gave him like 3 weeks ago, the computer. I think, I mean, that was his moment. I feel like he is going to be like touched forever by that gift.
Well, it's those moments that can spark something. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to incentivize him to keep coming. You know,
oh, wow.
incentivize bad habit, or we can incentivize good habit. Some people shouldn't have to reward people to get them to do something for themselves. But these are young kids. And one of the things is a lot of these young kids have not had a positive reinforcement or positive things in life.
Right.
It's hard for them to dream big, to want to be motivated to do something when anything they've ever done may have not worked, or they don't even know how to do something.
Right.
I've been blessed with a mother that allowed me to dream, you know, and she gave me that environment to dream and dream big, and to understand that when I walk in the room, you are the smartest person in the room.
Oh, wow.
You know, and my sisters, if you met my sisters and you met the rest of my, you know, my brood and my mother, you would see that clearly. We believe I'm the smartest one in the room.
That is awesome.
And to walk in a room and feel that, I don't know how not to feel that way.
Oh, wow.
I may feel insecure as we grow up when you understand the classes, walk somewhere, you don't feel I have the right clothes on, or I'm not rich enough, or things like that. That may be a little insecurity, or you're in a place that you've never been to. But other than that, and as life has gone along, I don't even feel that anymore. I'm still the best guy in the room. You know,
oh, wow.
And so, God.
You know what I forgot? We do have a need. If anyone walks into the center, the youth have painted the center. They installed new floors. They're about to install new cabinets to the carpentry group. And I was thinking, like, wow, you know, I want the place. They already own the place, but if it could, like, I think the chairs that I got was like probably 15 years old. Just to kind of liven up like the furniture. A lot of the furniture that we get, actually the youth actually built the custom workstation. The carpentry group built that.
Right.
So a lot of the countertops is the carpentry group and the volunteer. So we were blessed to have that. They did those custom furnitures. But we could really appreciate even gently used chairs or bean chairs for the youth.
Well, that's another thing you mentioned. You had wanted it to be a space where if they can't go to the library, they can come here and relax and to do stuff. Remember, you had mentioned that to me.
Yeah, absolutely. The room that you use with Daquan, it has the computers. It's gonna have like the kitchenette area. I want that to be a cafe. So for the holidays, we're gonna have like a juice and hot chocolate coffee bar. So the center has always been like a safe haven. Even though as a nonprofit 2 years in the making, we opened that center in 2011. I was talking to a public official, and we were talking about the center when it opened. We served about 50 teenagers from Roselle. None of those 15 teenagers, knock on wood, are incarcerated.
Good.
There were no incarceration, no teen pregnancy. And one of the youth, he would stay there because we were open till 10 at night. So we opened from 8 in the morning to 10 at night. And one of the youth, I'll never forget, Stevens, his father left the country, and his mother, I don't know where his mother was at, but we were able to find a family to take him and give him a room, give him food until he finished high school.
Oh, that's great.
And so it was a safe haven, because I was thinking like, wow, how come our youth were not, in trouble? Like, oh, because they were at Boxwood all the time. That's why. So I think urban communities, all communities, but especially urban communities where you don't have traditional families, you have low income households, you have a lot of mental health issues, especially if there's a lot of, overdose or high usage of drugs. Those type of neighborhoods definitely need kind of like I see Boxwood as a YMCA,
A safe space, right?
but for teenagers, for older teens, where it's a learning center, but there's a deficit of that in the community, and not enough support to open up those type of centers.
Right. I know you also had mentioned that you wanted to expand what you're doing, in a sense, have more of the community kids come in and do little projects and things like that. Because I know you had one of the kids do the robots, and little things like that can attract more kids. Small events that attract more attention and attract kids, and then you can get that more flow of kids. So that might be something that people who are in science or technology or things like that can bring to the table and help you with.
Right. You remember that young man who called you? Well, I assigned another young man to come up with a theme to attract actually younger children to the sciences. And he's like, why don't you call it Play with Science? So he's actually one of our graduates, is our webmaster who has time to do that. And he actually, tomorrow we're going to launch it. So we're going to use every other Saturday to do Play with Science. And we have a staff member who has a chemistry background. We have a staff member with electrical engineering background. And we're going to have like workshops for children from, I think in the beginning we're doing K to 8, and it's going to be age appropriate. So that's something to look out for. Like, we have things for the teens, but we don't have a lot for preteens. Especially we do private tutoring, after school private tutoring, and I find a lot of the children that are coming in have ADHD, have some type of special needs. So we've had to like expand our staff to bring in people with specialized skills. But for children who are struggling with dyslexia, with ADHD, that's the reason why we're doing a lot of science, technology, hands-on science, technology, engineering, and math. And that's going to be our Saturday program.
Okay, that's great. Great to hear.
No, I'm excited. I'm really excited about.
Well, I'm hoping that 2020 is a big year, and we can get more students in there and more kids, at-risk kids, and I'm hoping that I can provide some help in that direction.
Oh, thank you so much.
So we can get more of these people in there. So hopefully this and other awareness programs, things like that, can help you out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So I think I've run through a lot of time. We could talk for a couple more hours.
Yes, indeed.
So I thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll do this again in another, who knows, 3-6 months, whatever time.
Right. May I request that the next time we can have some of our rappers and artists,
get a couple of people on here.
Right. We should definitely. They have some of their work recorded. We have authors in the office, youth who are working on their books. We could even have a segment just, going through I have one youth who's working on a book on cannabis, because I'm like, you're always smoking weed. We just finished one of your books. Why don't you write a book on cannabis and how to educate youth? Like, Miss Marie, that's a good idea. I'll do a YouTube video.
Well, one of my recommendations to you, and I've said again, is you should create your own podcast. Everyone
Okay.
should do a podcast.
Okay, awesome. Show me how to do it.
Yes, and look, I got three guests: my wife, my mother, and a friend of mine. Yes, so if I can get you 4, you're good.
Okay, awesome. So definitely think of us in early next year to do one for our rappers and the youth who are writing books.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time.
And don't forget, our website is www.boxwoodnj.org. Check out the gallery and the portfolio section, because that's maintained by the teens. So the disclaimer is I'm not responsible for what they have in there, but that's a joke. I am responsible. So check out the portfolio and gallery of what the youth are doing.
And the phone number?
The phone number is 908-241-6862.
Okay.
And we have on December 19th, we have an open mic where we do a pop-up cafe. We turn the center into a cafe. We even cover the walls with black tablecloth. And we change the lights. And when the lights go down and show lights go up, they start rapping.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Have a good holiday weekend.
You too. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you for joining us today at the Security Disciple Podcast. My name is Seth Melendez. You can head over to MFE WareGeeks Solutions website at www.waregeeks.com. That's www.waregeeks.com. The phone number is 877-653-7146.